So we have another confirmed assassination attempt on Trump's life today in the morning, and now we're all trying to pick up the pieces. How did this happen again for the third time? Why does this keep happening, and who is behind it all? Some people already started blaming Israel, but Fox News is doing the coverage for us to try to understand what is going on. Let's take a look.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is leading the DOJ team investigating the suspect and his path leading up to the shooting last night. He joins us now. Good to have you with us this morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Let me ask you where we are in this investigation. Reports that there was a search at a home last night believed to be where the suspect lives. Do we know anything more about ideology, motive, if he was working alone?
Yes, law enforcement, you're right, executed multiple search warrants last night, not only in Los Angeles, but also in Washington, D.C., in the hotel room where the suspect was staying. And they executed search warrants on devices, and they're going through that information right now. What we have learned, and what they've learned just overnight, is that it appears he traveled from Los Angeles through Chicago to Washington, D.C., and it appears he traveled by train during both legs of that trip. The investigation is rapidly developing, and I expect by the time formal charges are filed, which will likely be tomorrow morning, we will have a better sense of what happened. As far as motivation, we are still looking into that. It appears he was targeting members of the administration, but I say that generally because that's all we know right now. We don't have any specifics beyond that.
There are reports that he, quote, told law enforcement following his arrest that he did want to shoot Trump administration officials. Can you speak to that specifically?
Yeah, look, not more specifically than what you just said. I mean, look, this is just starting. There's multiple, there's emails, there's things that we're looking through right now to help us understand what his motivation was, to the extent that it's written down somewhere. We're talking to witnesses who knew him, and we'll be doing that. Law enforcement work through the night, and they'll work through the day and continue to work to figure out what happened.
Well, you mentioned him traveling by train, which not a lot of Americans do cross country these days. Does that raise questions about whether he was trying to avoid being tracked, say, by flight logs and those kinds of things that, you know, when you go through security, obviously there is a tracking through TSA and that whole process. Does the train spark any red flags for you?
Yes, I mean, look, you can travel by plane, car, or train, and it appears he traveled by train. Why he did that, we don't know at this point, but it could be the reasons you just described. It could be other reasons. We don't know whether he had the firearms with him. It does appear that he purchased those firearms within the past couple of years, but that could be another reason why he traveled by train, because he had the firearms with him. But I'm speculating there, and so are you, obviously, but we'll see.
Okay, so we know he's facing charges, at least according to U.S. Attorney Pirro, speaking about this last night. 1 count each of using a firearm during a crime of violence and assault on a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. She mentioned an arraignment probably tomorrow. You talked about other charges. Any anticipation of what they may be at this point?
Yes, Judge Pirro, who again was on the scene last night, like a lot of us, worked through the night, and we don't know what charges could come later. It depends on what evidence we develop. But right now, those 2 charges are the ones that we expect. And the suspect, the alleged conduct that took place is exactly the worst kind of conduct that we have at an event like this, where you have extensive security. But the most important thing about what happened is that law enforcement got it right. So there's a lot of talk about how close the alleged gunman got to all of us and to President Trump. But the reality is he didn't really get past the perimeter. And that means that law enforcement, Secret Service, the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI now did their jobs, which is a good thing for everybody, including you and me.
Yeah, we're all very, very grateful for those who sprang into action last night. What's your message to Capitol Hill as they continue fighting over DHS funding? We understand that paychecks may soon be no longer available to members of the Secret Service, us calling on them and expecting them to work in situations like last night, where one of them took a bullet, thankfully, to a vest that protected him. But your message to Capitol Hill as they are continuing to fight, potentially voting this week on that funding?
I hope this is a wake-up call. to Congress. I hope this is a wake-up call that the games that they've been playing really with the lives of the men and women protecting them should end. And I do hope that they get to work now and get a deal done, which is what President Trump has been asking for months now, and that the folks in that room, which included some of those congressmen and senators, not in addition to the press and the administration officials that were there, got a firsthand look at how great those men and women are, and how using them as pawns in their political game is something they should not be doing.
Well, I've got you. I want to try to ask quickly about a couple of other big headlines. The indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center this week. They say that they were sharing information with law enforcement about these people that apparently they were paying as informants inside these agencies, these organizations, that they said, you know, rightfully they were fighting racism, all these kinds of things. But they say that this is intimidation, potentially. How do you answer that? Were they working with law enforcement, and is it a matter of intimidation?
I've read and heard what they've said. The indictment speaks for itself. Anybody can read it. And
So continue on here on Twitter from Open Source Intel. We have Fox News reporter, the Shooter's Manifesto said he wanted to target administration officials. Investigations also found extensive anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric across his social media accounts. According to reports, Allen's brother alerted New London Police Department after receiving the alleged manifesto before the incident. U.S. Secret Service reports Montgomery County Police Department later interviewed Allen's sister at the family home in Rockville. Key points from the interview: she said her brother often made radical statements and spoke about doing something to fix today's world. She confirmed he bought 2 handguns and a shotgun from Cap Tactical Firearms and stored them at their parents' home without their knowledge. He regularly trained those firearms at shooting ranges. He reportedly linked to a group called the Wide Awakes. He also attended a No Kings protest in California. And we have confirmation here from Attorney General Blanche. The bullet that hit the United States Secret Service agent's vest likely came from a shooter, not crossfire from the shooter. The suspect traveled by train from L.A. to Chicago to D.C. and checked into the Washington Hilton, CBS News. So, here's J.D. Vance. Left-wing violence is the problem in America. Charlie Kirk was murdered by a left-wing radical. The president was almost killed. They don't want to disagree. They want to kill their fellow citizens. I agree. It really seems... Now, what was funny is right when I joined Twitter, you had all the Pakistani, Bangladeshi shills for the IRGC claiming this was Israel again. Like, I was like, damn, this one's Israel also. Israel's behind literally everything. They were posting pictures of the shooter with IDF sweaters, saying that he was a fan of Israel, that he had like an IDF here. Look, here, I just loaded it right now. Here it is. We are aware of the photo here. The Mossad satirical and awesome. We are aware of the photo of the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting wearing official IDF clothing. We are looking into the authenticity of this photo. Not only this, but there was another photo with the IDF thing. This is obviously satire, yeah? He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fingers on his left hand. So if you didn't understand that was a joke, that's the joke. But yeah. White House Correspondents' Dinner shooter Cole Allen had an ABC interview special in 2017.
Cole Allen developed a prototype for a wheelchair emergency brake.
The wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground. The idea with this is to prevent it from moving at all.
Cole Allen developed a prototype
Now listen to that voice and you guys tell me, does that sound like somebody who supports Israel or supports Palestine?
for a wheelchair emergency brake.
The wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground.
That sounds to me like somebody who supports Palestine pretty hardcore and probably is trans or non-binary or something. No judgment, no judgment according to it. But does not seem to me. I don't see a correlation there to Israel guy. Here's the fake photo everyone keeps posting. Bassem Youssef, Mossad false flag operation again with the Israel Defense Forces jacket. I have a hard time believing it. I haven't been able to prove it's wrong. I also haven't done the work to find out. Just have a hard time believing that this guy also, and everyone's saying that he was searched in Israel 12 hours before the shooting. Anyways, a lot of BS. A lot of people are going to try to pin this on the Jews in Israel again. Don't fall into the bullshit, guys. I'll see you guys next one. I love you long time. Goodbye, Klotz.